Well, that's the last of the washing up.
Thanks, Mum.
That went very well.
Yeah, it was great.
You must be tired.
But I don't want to go to bed yet.
Well, you really should get some sleep. I mean, we have got to get up pretty early tomorrow.
Uh-oh, that sounds ominous. What's the plan?
You can tell her.
You know how much I love to watch the sunrise?
Since when?
I do. I've always loved sunrise and sunset.
All right, so?
I want to do it again. See the sunrise. Just one last time.
Together, you and I forever and ever, no matter where you are, you're my guiding star.
And from the very first moment I saw you, I never felt such emotion. I'm walking on air, just to know you are there.
The Bill won't judge a book by its cover.
He's made threats, and I think you know what he's capable of.
I'm arresting you for a serious assault.
She said she'd do something like this.
I have to tell you, he's been saying that you invented the whole story.
Thursday night cop drama, The Bill at 8 on Central.
And action!
Hello there. Whenever... Next!
Hello. Next.
Remember, now try it with the teeth in.
I'm Alexi Sell.
First night.
And that's followed by the belligerent belly aching of Al Bundy in Married with Children tonight at 11:10.
I fancy some beef. If I could take that grill out, I could do a cracking steak on it. Oh yeah, a big juicy sirloin, all marinated and garlicky. Look at it just sizzling away there. That's enough that side. Cool, that beef looks well tender. It's gonna melt in the mouth, that is. A few herbs.
Just doing me time.
British beef. Even the thought of it tastes good.
They're bursting with toys at Children's World. There's trampolines and a slide or two. There's even a little pink doll with a potty and a robot that speaks. No, it's true. So many toys they'll need house room, something with plenty of space, like this country cottage from Little Tykes. Win one free for the kids if you race.
Now, this is a really mature cheddar cheese, and it's called Cathedral City, for those who know their cheddar.
The world never ceases to surprise Rumpole.
All right, Gov, it's a fair cop.
Getting me to chef to beat up someone else's granny.
There's nothing missing.
Something is.
What?
A proof of evidence of Joby Johnson, alleged robber of old-age pensioners.
The list of new Queen's Counsel will be announced by the Lord Chancellor next month.
It was a sad day for England.
But one of the better days for Rumpole of the Bailey. Tonight at 9 on Central.
Time now to find out what kind of day it's been in your part of the region from your local Central News team.
Boundary dispute settled, but a family asked why a man had to die. Car ring cracked, £100,000 worth of vehicles recovered. And ready for action, medical teams prepare for Bosnia. Good evening. The widow of a man shot and killed in a boundary dispute has won civil damages from a neighbour cleared of her husband's murder. A judge has agreed that she and not the neighbour owns the land for which her husband died.
Tony Alice was shot while moving a fence on the disputed land. The neighbour who put up the fence and his son were cleared of his murder. Tim Hurst reports.
Tony Alice from Middleyard near Stroud in Gloucestershire was moving a disputed fence in woodland behind his home when he was shot by a neighbour. Terence Maul, who'd erected the fence, and his son Greg were cleared of murder last year, but today the Alice family went to court to prove Tony Alice had indeed owned the land. The judge ruled Mr Maul must pay £550 damages for trespass and damage to trees and the costs of the case. Shortly after the hearing, the Alice family laid flowers at the spot where Mr Alice died. His widow is determined to pursue further court action.
I'm glad that it's all over, that my husband has been proven to be right. It would be nice if we could stay here, but in the circumstances I really don't think it's advisable in the long run. However, we're obviously going to pursue a civil action, which will probably take years, but we will have justice. In court they decimated his character. It was complete untruths, almost as if he was the one on trial.
Before today's hearing, Mr Alice's brother discovered the disputed fence had been torn down and replaced on the correct boundary.
It did something to me, I don't know. It upset me terribly, really, because people had gone to such lengths to protect something that they had no reasonable claim to whatsoever. They'd fenced off an area of this woodland, and then even on the day of the shooting purchased a double-barrel 12-bore shotgun to come and observe and protect this area of land which they have no claim to whatsoever. And to me, it's all such a waste, and it's left us all devastated.
The family's legal advisors have told them if they're seeking damages for the death of Tony Alice, they must start proceedings before next July, the 3rd anniversary of his death.
Two families have spoken about how they're coming to terms with a playgroup accident which changed their lives. It's thought that 6-month-old Hannah Davies was dropped on her head by a 3-year-old boy, though the inquest jury returned an open verdict because of conflicting evidence. Both families say they're satisfied with the outcome of the case. Robin Powell reports.
David Davis expects he'll never find out what caused the death of his 6-month-old granddaughter Hannah. She died in Milton Keynes General Hospital in July. She'd been found on the floor beside her pushchair in the office of a local playgroup. An inquest jury at Buckingham was told that a 3-year-old boy may have dropped Hannah on her head, but yesterday it returned an open verdict after the coroner, Rodney Corner, warned that the evidence was contradictory. It's a tragedy that's devastated two families. Now Mr Davis is holding out a hand of friendship to the boy's parents.
I would just like to say that there's no animosity at all towards the boy or the family. I just feel for the family.
It's an attitude that's earned the Davises the admiration of the officer in charge of the case.
They've coped extremely well under the circumstances, and really some of the police officers involved with them have the greatest of admiration for them, for the way they've coped with the situation.
We've been ordered to protect the identity of the boy involved, though his mother has faced the press to talk about the episode for the first time.
I'm just glad it's all over. I just feel sorry for the Davis family for losing their little.
His mother describes the 3-year-old as a quiet, shy little boy who loves babies. She has no reason to believe that it was anything other than an accident.
No, as far as he's concerned, it was an accident, really. He was just trying to give the baby a cuddle. I don't know, accidents happen, don't it? Children do wander out of your sight. They do it with me. So accidents do happen.
The police have closed the book on the Hannah Davis case. Meanwhile, they've expressed hope that all concerned will be left alone to put Hannah's death behind them.
A haul of stolen cars has been seized by police officers in a 2-day operation in which 18 people were arrested. Detectives say more than £100,000 worth of vehicles and parts have been recovered. Nick Clark reports.
These vehicles were seized after more than 50 police officers swooped on farm buildings in a village north of Milton Keynes. The operation followed a tip-off that stolen cars were being processed or rung.
We've recovered 16 cars in all, the majority of which have either been stolen and are in the process of being rung, whereby they're being allocated with new numbers in order for them to be resold again at a later date.
Inside many of the vehicles there's evidence of the original theft. Here a broken steering wheel lock, and on this car the chassis number has been removed. Amongst the haul, including parts and mechanics' toolkits, there are paint spray guns and welding equipment.
We've got over £100,000 worth of property at the moment that we've recovered. Who knows how much we've missed and has already gone through. We've recovered bits of probably another 30 vehicles where they've just been broken down ready to go onto a donor vehicle. It's obviously a very involved car ringing operation.
So far, 3 people have been charged with conspiring to steal. Detectives hope this find may lead to further discoveries.
We're already following up some leads as a result of documentation we've recovered in other areas. I'd rather not say at the moment whereabouts.
Police are hoping to trace rightful owners, but admit it's an uphill task. This may look like a 1300cc Fiesta, but a glimpse in the bonnet reveals an 1800cc diesel engine, and the car's number plate was from a stolen police car.
An MP has called for judicial thrashing and the return of the stocks to combat juvenile crime. Tony Marlow says Britain has become too civilised and doesn't punish offenders properly. It's time, he says, for a modified form of corporal punishment. Chris Moore reports.
Another statistic in the joyriding craze. A stolen Astra driven up the M5 at 100 miles an hour, then crashed into this oncoming car. Enough is enough, says Tony Marlow.
Given that the vast majority of urban crime is carried out by pseudo-macho little gits who get a kick out of crime, and given that we've got no proper solution for the problem, would my honourable friend consider instituting a punishment of judicial thrashing so that in future they should have a disincentive and a kick of a different sort?
Well, Madam Speaker, I think my honourable friend, in his own inimitable style and language, highlights a point which my right honourable and learned friend, the Home Secretary, took up at the Conservative conference in Brighton, where he committed us to a policy of developing a new approach as far as persistent juvenile offenders were concerned. And no doubt in considering our own recommendations on that, the words of my honourable friend will ring in our ears.
Undeterred, the straight-talking Mr Marlow went one step further outside the Commons chamber.
Before the beak doesn't seem to have any effect. Prison doesn't have any effect. Fines don't have any effect. They think they're little heroes in their own area. Now, I would like to see in centres of population, not old-fashioned stocks where you throw rotten cabbages, although many people would be tempted to do that. Put people behind a plastic screen, put their feet in the stocks, put a shirt on them, their hands behind their back, and on the shirt it would say, I'm a vandal, I'm a mugger, I'm a hooligan, I'm a petty thief, and at the times most inconvenient to them, they could sit there, day after day.
But Mr Marlow would probably have to fight the European Convention on Human Rights to get his wish. Meanwhile, a man's been charged with aggravated vehicle taking after the Gloucestershire incident, and a teenager has appeared in court after yesterday's high-speed chase through the centre of Oxford, which left this stolen metro wrecked, along with 3 police cars.
A solicitor has claimed that 3 men found not guilty of the manslaughter of twin girls should never have been put on trial. Rebecca and Emma Harper died in a barn fire last year. The men accused of their manslaughter were all acquitted after a Crown Court trial. In a letter to a newspaper, their solicitor, Tim Robinson, says that his clients should never have been prosecuted at all. The dead girls' parents say they're disgusted by his comments. Ken Goodwin reports.
David Harper, Wisdom Smith and Daniel Winter all walked out of court free men after being found not guilty of the manslaughter of twins Becky and Emma Harper, who died in a barn fire at Uckington near Cheltenham last year. The court had heard how the fire had started after one of the 3 men had lit some straw with matches to see in the dark. But now the solicitor who represented the 3 men says prosecuting his clients was neither fair nor just. In a letter to a local newspaper, he says that there was no evidence against them whatsoever. It was, he says, an injustice. The twins' parents say they're disgusted by the letter, but solicitor Tim Robinson stands by every word.
The verdict of the jury means, quite simply, that the whole thing was the most awful accident. And that's what it was. They should not have been prosecuted. I want there to be a much closer scrutiny of the evidence in these bigger cases. Cases must be prosecuted on fact, not on emotion.
Steve and Vicky Harper, the dead girl's parents, say they're too upset to be interviewed about the letter, but say in a statement, "We are terribly, terribly hurt by this letter. We would not lower ourselves to answer this dreadful rubbish propagated by a solicitor who does not know when enough is enough." Any decent family would be ashamed to be associated with it. The case was handled by Gloucestershire Police. A spokesman said in a statement, "The evidence was prepared by the police and the Crown Prosecution Service presented the facts to a judge and jury. We would not wish to enter into a public debate with Mr. Robinson." The dead girl's parents, Steve and Vicky Harper, have been trying to rebuild their lives since their twins died. For them, the letter represents a devastating setback.
Some news in brief. An insurance company has announced 200 job losses. Eagle Star, which has its headquarters in Cheltenham, employs 3,000 staff in the town. Last year, 1,000 Eagle Star employees lost their jobs. The latest cuts will hit the life assurance section. One of the 4 companies charged after 2 men fell to their death from the Severn Bridge has been cleared by a judge at Bristol Crown Court. Painters Robin Phelps from Brockwere in Gloucestershire and Eric Sullivan from Tintern in Gwent were killed when the gantry they were working on collapsed in September 1990. John Lang Services were accused of failing to maintain the gantry and ensure its safety. Today, the jury were ordered to enter a formal not guilty verdict. The 3 remaining companies deny breaching the Health and Safety at Work Act.
RAF medical crews are on standby to fly out to the war zone in what used to be Yugoslavia. They'll be used to provide emergency treatment for British troops if they're injured while on convoy protection duty in Bosnia. This report from Mark Kiff.
For the 2,000 British troops providing protection to the UN relief convoys in Bosnia, life in the front line is proving dangerous. Already they've been the target of attacks from warring factions. It's for these troops that the men and women of RAF Lynham's Aeromedical Evacuation Squadron are preparing to fly out and offer essential support.
We have 2 main roles. One is to receive the casualties that come in from the further echelons up near the front, and then we'd hold them, wait until the aircraft came in, put them onto the aircraft, hand them over to an aeromedical team in the aircraft and ship them home. And the second task that we have is to actually look after the people out there and give them medical support on the ground.
The squadron has been preparing for action for the past 2 weeks. This high-tech tent is the latest in mobile medical hardware, which could help save lives. Used in the Gulf War by the Americans, it can be put up within an hour to create a sealed surgical unit. If the squadron gets the call, its personnel will be flying out to Bosnia within hours. A handful of Lynham's Aeromedical Squadron are already in the region. One of the team has just returned.
Weather wasn't too good. No doubt it's going to get a lot worse for the troops that are out there, and the civilians indeed. The morale was still very high. There wasn't an awful lot for them to do, except really wait until things happen. Once we start getting casualties from the UN forces, if that happens, hopefully it won't, then yes, they will be putting people in on the ground and in-flight teams to look after people that are getting hurt.
The aeromedical teams are now waiting for a decision from Whitehall on when they'll be needed. In the meantime, the Hercules of RAF Lynham have already stepped up their workload to the war zone. In addition to the daily relief service between Zagreb and Sarajevo, 2 more flights are now leaving Britain each week with supplies. If needed, they'll also offer emergency evacuation for any casualties.
The RSPCA has dismissed fears that an animal shelter could close. Committee members meet tonight to confirm the sanctuary's future, as Simon Garrett reports.
There are 120 cats and dogs being looked after at the RSPCA's animal shelter in Whitminster near Stroud. Rumour and the recent closure of a similar sanctuary in Hereford a week ago has given rise to closure fears. But committee members insist the centre won't shut.
No, I'm quite sure it won't. We, the branch and the committee, don't want it. I'm sure the general public don't want it to close. There's a, what can I call them, a charity, I suppose they are, called the Friends of Whitminster. They raise vast sums of money for us. They don't want it to close. The shelter staff don't want it to close. I mean, nobody wants it to close, so we should try to keep it going.
Whitminster costs £2,000 a week to keep open, but it is in the black. Changes in the way it's run are to be discussed at a meeting tonight, but details won't be revealed until then. What is being said is that it's intended to keep what's regarded as a highly successful regime going on existing lines.
Yes, as near as possible, yes. That's our aim, to keep it going as it is, as near as possible.
Committee members are concerned that rumours about plans to close Whitminster could put off potential cash donors. With that in mind, a public statement's expected soon after the end of their meeting tonight.
That's it for part 1. We'll be back after the break. In part 2, the all-women taxi service, but is it unfair to men? Sheer Bliss, the old mill converted into luxury flats. And dear at the price, the stately homes heard up for sale.
Toothpaste, razors.
Bread, milk, coffee, Coke. Tea bag.
Tea bags, 4 chips, 2 sandwiches, 2 pasties.
Shampoo, toothpaste, deodorant.
Newspaper. Dog food. Dog food. Crackers.
Cat food.
Cat food. 4 chips.
Cakes.
Sandwiches. Steak.
Tea bags.
Tea bags. 2 pasties. Newspapers.
Esso has more forecourt shops than anyone else, where you can fill up with whatever you need, whenever you need it.
And,
All you have to do is remember what you wanted.
Do you remember the crackers?
Unless you know how to use business technology properly, it will always remain just a piece of technology, and you'll never fulfill your true potential. But with a little help from Andersen Consulting, your situation can be completely transformed. Then, who knows what new horizons will open to you?
Buy storage heaters now from MEB, and you won't have to pay for them till March the 15th. Miss an offer like that, you will be miffed.
Hello again. A taxi firm run by women for women says it plans to carry on operating, despite a ruling that such services discriminate against men. The firm says it's providing peace of mind for a growing number of women. Opponents say it's unfair to male taxi drivers. Gargi Patel reports.
A taxi driver calls to pick up a fare. The 2 female passengers are guaranteed that the driver is a woman. Paradise Cars in Oxford is one of the few taxi firms run by women for women. They don't refuse male customers, they simply subcontract them to another firm. Because of the Sex Discrimination Act, they're not allowed to advertise a women-only service or recruit only women drivers. Despite the law, the company has grown over the last year. But 50 miles away in Gloucester, the same laws have stopped Yvonne Bremer from setting up a female taxi business altogether. The demand is there, she says, but without being able to advertise or recruit just women, her plans have been scrapped.
It's all down to choice. You know, men also have the choice. There's plenty of taxis that they can get into. There's plenty of taxis that women can get into, but there are those that do feel a bit nervy that would prefer a ladies-only service.
Drivers like Yvonne have campaigned to change the law. In the House of Lords yesterday, there were calls to make female cab services an exception to the Employment Act. And they talked about growing fear of attack and rape amongst women. But the government insisted there's no case to answer.
The government deplores attacks on women and considers safety a top priority. However, we question the extent to which changing the sex discrimination law to permit employees to employ women-only taxi drivers would address the more complex problems of women's safety.
Male cab drivers in Gloucester said running a female-only business would give an unfair impression of men.
By advertising for lady customers only, she's saying that it could be unsafe to travel with male taxi drivers, and that is not true.
Despite the latest ruling, Oxford's women-only firm is determined to carry on. Through word of mouth and demand from customers, they've built up a sizable business with 5 drivers.
You've only got to read the paper practically every day, and there is somebody that has been attacked or mugged, and we felt that there was definitely room for this service, and I think we're being proved right.
We're living in a day and time where you can't afford to take chances.
You can be relaxed, nobody's going to take you up the wrong way, and I'm just really happy about it.
The Equal Opportunities Commission says the Sex Discrimination Act is clear that restricting taxicab jobs to one sex is potentially unlawful. And it says it would be better to lobby MPs in Parliament to provide funding for better and safer transport to include all vulnerable groups.
A property developer is hoping to defy the recession by putting flats in a converted mill on the market at up to £250,000 a time. What's more, he's certain they'll sell quickly, as Mike Rowbottom reports.
Recession? What recession? As far as the developer of Bliss Mill at Chipping Norton's concerned, he has buyers lining up to take his new luxury flats. No matter about the slump in the property market, nor that there isn't any money about. They'll come running for these, he says.
I think it will appeal to people who perhaps would like to live in a large country house but obviously can't afford to do so at the moment. It will also appeal to, I think it will also appeal to a lot of foreign customers that are looking for a base in this country.
It's not the first time he's done it, and he reckons he's got 100 serious contenders on the books already. The mill's been renovated after 12 years of doing nothing. It was the pride of Chipping Norton, being rebuilt after a fire in 1872. The name of William Bliss was known throughout the world for his quality tweeds, and it continued long after his death. But the mill closed in 1980. Much of the renovation work was already done before a previous developer had to abandon the project. Now, after over £5 million and a lot of work, it's ready. They're hoping retired people and those looking for a second home in the country will stump up the cash. There are 1, 2 and 3 bedroom flats. The top price for one of them is just under £250,000, but they do get the unique chimney thrown in.
This building is a listed building. No one would dream of wishing to take the chimney down because it's the finest feature of the building. An awful lot of work has been done to ensure its stability and construction.
The complex includes most of the luxuries expected by a 1980s yuppie. Swimming pool, sauna, jacuzzi, squash court and gymnasium. The tennis courts act as helicopter landing pads. Nice if you can afford it, but who on earth can?
I presume those with second homes actually have got money, that they've put aside, but for the right development, the international buyer, either they're going to use as an investment that they will let, or they want a bolt hold for when they're over in this country.
Whoever buys them will be taking over a vastly different building from the hard-working tweed factory, but that's progress.
Well, if one of those flats is for you, here's just the thing to set off the view from the window. A stately home is selling off a herd of deer, and there's already been a stream of inquiries, as Ken Goodwin reports.
Red deer and the country estate. They go together well, yet the two are soon to be parted. The herd are part of the Batsford Park estate near Morton-in-Marsh, and now the magnificent animals are up for sale, following the death of the former Lord Dulverton.
He had his estate in Scotland, Glenfeshire, where he had a large herd of wild red deer, and then when he got too old to climb the hills, he wanted to have some of his deer here. So he had them bought, he bought a few from the Queen at Windsor, and let them out in the park here. We originally started with 20 Heinz and 1 stag. Well, we've now seen we've got about 60 head, and there just isn't room for them in the park.
This huge stag rules the herd. He's been busy keeping at bay the 8 other stags which stick together in their own bachelor group on the fringes of the herd. The deer can be worth anything from £200 for a hind to £500 for a mature stag, and they thrive particularly well in the Cotswolds.
Well, in the hills of Scotland they have to live in nightmare cold conditions. Glenfeshire Estate's at over 2,000 feet. Here we are at 600 feet in the Cotswolds on green soil and green grass. The naturally do better.
Estate staff will be particularly sad to see the deer go, and they'd like the whole herd to be sold together, hopefully to grace the grounds of another country estate.
Oh, it'd be a shame if they were split up.
Time for tonight's headlines now. The High Court has ruled that doctors treating Hillsborough victim Tony Bland can allow him to die. Mr Major has dismissed Labour claims that the government has botched the first school exam result leagues table. The Royal Bank of Scotland is to shed 3,500 jobs over the next 5 years. The 100 shares index closed up 2.2 at 27.06.2. The pound is up at $1.53 and down at 2 marks 41.
And that's the news from Harriet and from me for now. Charlie Neal's coming up next with the regional weather forecast. For now, from all of us here, good night.
Good night.
Central Weather, sponsored by Legal & General.
Not a bad old day by recent standards, a fair amount of sunshine around for most of us. You can see that we've still got the clear skies that gave us that sun. We're keeping them through tonight as well, so we're in for another chilly one. The white cloud you can see here on the left-hand edge of the screen, though, halfway down, is heading for us during the course of tomorrow, and there's rain in that there cloud. The weather really can't quite decide what to do at the moment, and it's much the same throughout the rest of Europe. This is how we're all going to look for tomorrow. There's rain in western France, there's heavy rain in Greece, and generally for the rest of Europe it's a bright and breezy sunshine and showers jobby, although Spain is being treated to some real sunshine tomorrow. In fact, we'll be treated to some sunshine tomorrow. Shame it'll be early morning and dead cold, but at least we'll have it. The only problem is that the clear sky that'll treat us to all of that is going to treat us to a cold night as well. Temperatures generally around 2 Celsius, but the odd sheltered valley will get even closer to freezing, so there will be a touch of frost about. The odd shower, but 95% of us staying dry. A frosty feeling early start to tomorrow, therefore, but look at this for a corker. That's tomorrow morning on the whole. Some nice yellow egg yolks of sun and dry. But the first signs of that cloud coming up from the southwest will be here by lunchtime, and then gradually through the afternoon the sun will turn hazier and weaker as that cloud spreads across the rest of the region. Buckinghamshire, therefore, hanging on to the best of the sun the longest. Rain will follow up from the southwest by dark, and then rain for all of us overnight Friday, with it still clearing through eastern bits on Saturday, and nothing really great to replace it, I'm afraid. A cloudy day Saturday on the whole. Could be a sunny break near the Welsh borders by the afternoon, but don't hold your breath. The big thing about Saturday is how mild it'll feel. 13 is 55 Fahrenheit. We haven't seen that for a while yet. That's how we're shaping up so far then. We'll see you later for the update.
Beirut, you must clear that runway at once or we'll all die.
A real Saturday night action movie starring Chuck Norris, The Delta Force, 10:05 on Central.
And that's followed by our second movie on Saturday night, which stars Michael Caine, Peter Ustinov and Omar Sharif in the African adventure yarn Ashanti. But next we pop in for half a shanty at the Woolpack in Emmerdale.
Only vegetables from now on, Gran. My body's a shrine.
Nonsense, dear. You look lovely.
I mean, I'm a vegetarian.
Oh, that's nice.
It's not nice. It's a serious commitment.
Sounds like an excuse to eat your mother's vegetable moussaka.
Yes. I hope you're enjoying my Weight Watchers moussaka.
Yes, Mum, but I'm not eating it because I enjoy it.
Strange child.
Vegetable moussaka. From Weight Watchers from Heinz.
Darling, you're there. Oh, I'm in the car, but it's getting dark and I'm stuck.
Vodafone Low Call is a new low user tariff with low price connection and line rent. Call charges are higher.
No, I am not panicking.
But then you'll only be using the service when you really need to.
Hope I haven't held you up too long.
Not at all. No, darling, I'm fine. I just needed someone to talk to.
New low call from Vodafone. When you can't phone, phone.
Here in the Colombian mountains, rain breathes freshness into the land. Then the sun gives fullness and flavor to some of the finest coffee beans in the world. That's why today's new, fresher tasting Maxwell House uses more mountain-grown Colombian beans than ever before, for an aroma that's inviting, a flavor that's refreshing, a new, fresher taste. Taste the freshness of the mountains in the new blue jar. New Maxwell House.
For a Forte Leisure Breaks brochure, ring 0345 Forte Forte Forte.
This week is European Drug Prevention Week. So get the facts about drug prevention and call this number for more information. Get the message.
Harry's such a poppy. But of course, one can only eat the after-dinner mint. After dinner. He was terribly understanding, as were the Smythes and the Fitzsimmons. The evening went swimmingly until...
I can't believe you're all doing this. Leaving the empty envelopes in the box.
Dear Freddie, such a stickler for tradition.
After 8, it is the after-dinner mint, after all.
This trolley.
So much for willpower. What? Rice pudding and jam. Not on, Mum.
They're Weight Watchers. Weightlifting? What side's that on?
No, Mum, we're talking about rice pudding.
It's not on, Gran.
What?
Weightlifting.
No, dear, we're talking about rice pudding.
Rice pudding?
And jam.
So much for willpower.
Rice pudding and jams from Weight Watchers from Heinz.
If you want to know what it's like to have some of life's great luxuries at your beck and call, just ask somebody with gas central heating.
Did your childhood lack hugs, kisses and emotional support from your parents? Do you blame them for your present problems? Maybe you're a parent and think you've done a good job but still got the blame when things went wrong for your kids. Ring the Time the Place now on 0891 111 124. That's 0891 111 124.
It looks like the family business has gone to seed.
Mum thought she could rest easy, leaving it to you.
Well, thank God she's dead, because this'd kill her.
You just want my home.
And it looks like he's going to get it.
Did you hit her back? No. You weakling, son. What have I got that's worth anything like...
Well, his house must be worth a few bob.
Thank God you haven't got any money to throw at them.
That's what you think, missus. Gone to seed. Friday at 8 on Central.
Now on Central, Emmerdale.
Come on, sleepyhead. Some tea for you.